So we got some interesting news. Basically, it's about Corey Graves. Most of you maybe know him as the commentator, but some of you, or actually a lot of you as well, might know his wrestling background, especially if you watched early days of NXT, because he was up there, man, and it was actually a tag team partner with Adrian Neville, and he was going for some, decent storylines, and even for the NXT Championship, I think at one point. But then one concussion led to another, and Mr. Corey Graves, I mean, it's been maybe a decade now. It's been a long while, and he had to retire from in-ring competition, and he's been a commentator. And this was at the time where Bryan still hadn't come back, if I remember correctly. We didn't have Edge coming back, and so like I never looked at this guy with a potential of him basically returning to in-ring action. But recently he posted a video where he just does the basic like a headlock, into Irish whip and the classic universal international spot, whatever you may want to call it. And yeah, it is possible. I mean, like I said, after Daniel Bryan, after Edge, after many other people who we thought would never return to wrestling, returning to wrestling, it's possible right now for Corey to also return to wrestling. But there are like two questions. Well, number one is I do want to ask you guys as well. Do you think that he can actually return? And should he return? Because here's also another important piece of information. Corey Graves is 40 years old right now as we speak. So keeping that in mind, Bryan, what do you think about this whole
Well, I
situation?
want to answer you first, kiddo.
Wow. Okay,
Sorry for
Kenny.
jumping in, because Bryan, I haven't seen the clip. Are you able to pull up the clip while I'm talking about it? Because I want to see how he looks in the ring at least. Because just off the top of my mind, shout out to off the top. Off the top of my mind, I remember a few years ago, they were reporting that Corey Graves was cleared to get back in the ring. And I think that was around the same time Edge and Bryan Danielson was coming back, Saraya. And I was like, okay, so Corey Graves is another one we can add to this list. I saw a little bit of his stuff in NXT. I'm not too sure how I felt about him back then because he really didn't leave an impression on me. I just remember him kind of being like the creepy Darby Allin character before Darby Allin, of course, who used to do that stuff. But let's check out how he looks right now.
This is one from before. This is not the one that recently dropped, as I cannot locate that one, but this is recent as well.
We can just see him moving at least. Looks like he can go.
Ooh.
Is that the Hammerstone guy?
I don't know who that is. That seems like just a
jobber.
A name trainee, yeah.
Well, I mean, he doesn't look slow there. He doesn't look rusty. Like, we see Jade Cargill. She has that hesitation. Doesn't look like he has that hesitation. But do I want to see him go? Do I think he can still go? At 40 years old, I think if he was cleared a few years ago and WWE wanted him to get back in there, they would have kind of moved those pieces and got a storyline for him to get him back in the ring. If he's posting these videos of himself working out, I'm sure personally he wants to get back in there, but does Triple H want to take that chance with him getting injured? Now you have an announcer who's out. So I don't know if WWE would let him go. And at 40 years old, I think he might want to just sit back, relax, take his announcer job. We see how long Michael Cole has been doing this. Where these guys make the mistake is getting on that announcer table, doing a good job, and I'm sure they're backstage pushing like, when can I get back in the ring? When can I get back in the ring? Like Samoa Joe, bro, you had a full career in the ring. It was great. I understand you might not be ready to retire, but you got pretty much a lifelong job at that announcer table, so enjoy it. But then you get back in the ring, get injured, now you don't have a job. We saw that happen with Alex Riley when he went back to NXT. He was doing a great job at that announcer table, wanted to get back in the ring, got injured, now you're out of a job. We haven't seen Alex Riley ever since. So it's a dangerous game, man. It's a dangerous game at 40 years old to try to put those boots back on, get in the ring, because you can train as long as you want. But, kiddo, you're a wrestler yourself, so they say that ring rust is a real thing where you really don't get that ring training and ring callus, I think they call it, unless you're getting there doing those reps. So when he gets in there and does a match, I mean, he could hurt himself. So I think in his best interest, you got to get that fulfillment if you want it. So maybe if he wants to do it, they should let him do it. But, bro, you got a job that you can have for a long time. I think you should stay at the commentary table and just relax.
Bryan?
Fair enough. Me personally, I think the boat has sailed. The ship has sailed. I think he's already 40 years old. But listen, man, I think Corey Graves can go in there and have a one-off match. I don't think he needs to return. I think that you can build some sort of storyline just like we've seen Michael Cole get attacked before on comment. Like you can do stuff like that with Corey Graves, and then Corey Graves gets in the ring. Just like I think Nick Aldis will have a match eventually. You can do one-off matches, and I think a Corey Graves return it wouldn't be, a bad thing. I would like to see it. I didn't get to watch him too much in NXT. It's unfortunate the way his career ended, but at least he remained in WWE and they took care of him. And, now he has a job in commentary, which I think he does pretty good at. So I think that for the meanwhile, I would like to see a one-off match, maybe 2-3 matches, but for him to go back in there full time, man, it ain't gonna happen. I think one match is good enough for me, man, just to see him in there and just play into a storyline, and that's it.
That's what I was thinking as well, because like you guys said, we pretty much just settled on that commentator position, and like unless something weird happens in his life or to the WWE when they go to Netflix or something, I don't know. I don't see him leaving that position at all. And since it's the commentary position, that means he's here for 10, 20 years, maybe more than that. Who knows? So definitely don't risk that right here at this point of your career. He started a family with Carmella too. I think they either have a child on the way or yeah. So, you know what I mean? Everything is basically settled for him. And one of the more important details we have to look into is we talked about Saraya, Bryan Danielson, and Edge. These people were really, really high up on the card. I mean, Paige was basically the number one, diva for a good while. And then, Edge and Dan Bryan, I mean, come on. Like, we don't even have to list their accomplishments. Even when this injury thing didn't happen to Corey Graves yet, he was in NXT struggling. Like, we didn't know if he could ever be an NXT champion. And after that, no one even knew or like really had any hopes of him going to the main roster and accomplishing something big. He might have had a bit of a potential, but yeah, he was definitely trying to find himself even still as a wrestler. And at that point, like the guy is 40 years old. At that point, he was doing wrestling for a good while too, wrestled on the indies. And so I think, some things happen for a good reason. Mm-hmm. And I think this is the job that he should have landed on anyways. And, fate kind of guided him to the commentary position. And so I'm of the same opinion with you guys. Do an interesting storyline where he needs to defend somebody. Maybe, Michael Cole is getting beat up and Corey says, this is enough. I'm going to protect my partner. Or something happens with Carmella. But yeah, one-off, just 1 or 2 special matches. And that's about it. But yeah, at 40 years old, it's absolutely game over. I checked Nick Aldis because we talked about him as well. He's actually 37 years old, so
he can still go time to get in there. Something's got to happen with that. I mean, I know this is a whole nother 100%. Topic for another day, but if Cody Rhodes is getting like beat down or something, and we see Nick Aldis come out there trying to help him and just snatches his glass or jacket off and clotheslines Cody Rhodes, that can give Cody Rhodes that jolt he needs right now to give him a good title feud that we can actually sink our teeth into. So hopefully we see that one soon too.
But yeah. Shout out to Corey Graves, man. Like, he had a cool style. I always liked him. Yeah, stay down. A lot of people didn't, but yeah, it's just the reality of the situation. Doing a great job on commentary. Keep on doing that.